What is up, fam? Welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to be talking about the 370Z and every single mod that I've actually done to the car at this point. It's a video that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, just because I get so many questions on a daily. What kind of fenders are those? Where'd you get that bumper? What's the rear bumper? So I'm going to go into detail where you can get this stuff from, how much I actually spent. So let's go ahead and go to a location, and then we'll go ahead and start talking about the car and what's actually done to it. Alright guys, so I came to a park to go ahead and talk about the Z and all the parts that are installed onto the car, my entire mod list, and how much I spent. To start off the video, this is a 2009 Nissan 370Z. So this is the first model that actually came out, and it actually had relatively low miles when I bought it. So this car at the moment has about 43,000 miles. I bought it, I believe, about 3 years ago with 35,000 miles. So I've put about about 10K on it since I've owned it. I haven't put too many miles on it, and for it being a 2009, 35,000 miles when I bought it was actually a really low mileage. I bought it for $18,000 at the time. You can find 370Zs used for a lot cheaper, but mine came with warranty and everything. I bought it from the dealer, so if I had any issues, I wanted it to be able to take it back. You can find cheaper 370Zs that can cost you anywhere from maybe, sometimes I've seen some up to 9,000, 13,000, 14, just depends where you're looking, the year. Pretty much if it's a Nismo's usually around 20,000, somewhere around that range. There's a lot of stuff done to it. Let's go ahead and jump right into it, and I'll show you everything that's actually done to the car. Alright, so let's go ahead and start off with the front bumper. The front bumper is a Nismo V1 bumper. The original bumper on this is a base model bumper. It doesn't have the lights or anything. It's just a plain bumper that's a little bit smaller. It doesn't have like a nose like this one. So if you look at it from the side, it has a nose to it. The original bumper doesn't have a nose. It just has a base bumper when I originally bought it. This bumper can run you about 500 bucks brand new. You can buy it at Concept Z. I actually bought this bumper used. Well, not used, I bought it from a guy who was selling it. It was new, it's an OEM bumper, but he had bought it for his car, but he ended up not using it. So I ended up purchasing it for him. And then on top of that, I had to paint the bumper. The paint was, I believe, about $250. So if you add that up together, I spent about $350 on this bumper, plus the paint. I spent about 500 bucks just to get this bumper and to get it painted and everything. Now you may notice that I also have canards on it. These are custom made canards that I actually made out of ABS plastic. I just bolted them on there. I had some material laying around, so I just cut it out, made the shape of the bumper, and then installed it. You can find ABS plastic for relatively cheap. I had a huge sheet that cost me about 50 bucks. Not sure how much a small sheet will cost you. I'm sure it won't be more than 10 bucks maybe. So just depending on where you find the sheet, that's how much it's going to cost you. And then I also have a custom front splitter. The front splitter, I just recently made a video on it. If you guys want to check it out. To make the entire splitter, which is chassis mounted and everything, cost me about 150 bucks. Oh, sorry, it was actually around 120, 130. So it was custom made. It's made out of plywood. And then the splitter rods are probably one of the most expensive parts. I believe they're like $70 for those splitter rods, but I already have them. So splitter rods, 70 bucks. And then you have the splitter that I actually made myself. It was about 120. Now another noticeable thing on the car is the headlights. This is one of the biggest mods that you can do to the car that's drastically going to change the way it looks. Just because the chrome headlights look so ugly in my opinion, you really need to change it to at least black housings, and then you can do custom rings or whatever you want to do to them. But for me to open them, I just baked it in the oven, and then I painted the little rings or the circles right here. I painted those red along with those top ones, and then the side marker right here. So for the paint and everything, all I honestly had to buy was a paint. So that was about 20 bucks. So just for the spray paint for the black one and the red one, if you think, it's like about 10 bucks each. So relatively cheap if you do it yourself. But it changes the look a lot. Looks a lot cleaner. Now let's talk about the carbon fiber hood. The carbon fiber hood is from VIS Racing. You can purchase it directly through them. I got it for $700, but if you check online, I believe it's $1,000 right now. So I actually picked it up in Cali directly from VIS. So it's a lot cheaper. I saved about 300 bucks just to pick it up. I was actually on vacation over there, so I didn't want to spend Another 300 bucks just for them to ship it. So I saved $300 just on this VIS racing hood. Now if you look down here, I do have a MISHIMOTO oil cooler. Honestly, if you have any of the older models like a 2009 like mine, you really need to get an oil cooler if you live like in AZ like me. It gets really hot around this time, so the oil cooler really helps out a lot, keep the oil temps down. One of my favorite mods that I actually did to this car, just because I'm very paranoid when it comes to the car's maintenance and how it's doing. So that really helped out keep the temps down, and I'm actually really happy I actually purchased that. I believe I got it on sale. Now the fenders are from Fly One Motorsports. These are going to run you about $1,000, and that's not including most likely taxes, shipping and everything. So I actually got these for $850, which is a lot cheaper than what you would pay for them brand new. So I got really lucky on these. Somebody was selling them, I hit them up, picked them up, and got them for a lot cheaper than you would pay brand new. But they look so sick. Like, just look at it. I think carbon fiber looks the best when it's on black, just because it flows nicely. I think with any other color, it kind of looks a little bit off, but it just flows well with the car, and it makes the car look a lot more aggressive, because it looks like it has like fins or gills right here at the end. So it just looks really sick. And then going over to the side right here, I just recently made a video on this as well. These are Icon Motorsports side skirts or side splitters. So these are $129 online. So if you can purchase them on eBay or Amazon, relatively cheap compared to other brands that actually make these. I would like to go with carbon fiber, but because my rear side skirts and along with the front one is not made of carbon fiber, I didn't really want to get carbon fiber, so I wanted it to flow evenly. But that's how they look really sick. Makes the car look lower for I would say like about an inch lower. Let's talk about my wheels now. These are work Durandals. These are 20 times 10.5 in the front, and then 20 times 11.5 in the rear, with -10 offset all around. So these wheels are one of my favorite wheels, along with the Workmeisters. They're super clean. They have a step lip as well. So the faces, I believe, are actually 19s, but it steps up to a 20. So for those of you that don't really know a lot about wheels, offsets and everything, the offset -10, meaning that the wheel or the actual face itself is closer to the back of the wheel than it is in the front. So if you have positive offset, the wheel is going to be closer to the lip itself. But when you have a negative offset, which is mine here, it's actually going to be a little bit closer to the back facing of the actual rim or the wheel itself. And then when it comes to buying wheels for your 370Z and you have AKEBONOs like these, it's really difficult to pretty much clear the brake calipers. The brake calipers are huge. You can't clear a lot of wheels. So you have to purchase a wheel that has a high disc, meaning that the wheel is pushed out a little bit more of the face from the actual bore. That way you can be able to clear the wheels. Now these I actually picked up for $2,000, and considering that each wheel is about $800 each, it's a huge come up on these wheels, especially the way that they look. And not a lot of people actually have these. I've only seen a few people that have these wheels because they're so rare, and they're honestly like some of the nicest wheels compared to the Workmeisters. Very nice wheels, especially when they have offsets like these and they have huge lips in the rear as well. I think it just looks so sick. So if you can see here, the lip on this one is huge. Like, you can easily place a cup in there and it won't even fall or anything. That's how huge the wheel lip is. Fender to lip pretty much all around. So if you look at the wheels and the fender itself, it's right on the lip, and also in the front it's fender to lip right there as well. I can actually camber in the rear a little bit and the car will actually go down significantly. The previous owner that actually had these, he was cambered out in the rear with, I believe, -4 camber, and his car was pretty much on the floor. I could do the same thing as well, but I actually like how it looks, fender to lip. So I might leave it like this. I could change it in the future, but I'm actually really happy with how it's looking now. Another mod that you guys may have not noticed if I didn't tell you is I actually upgraded the brakes on here to the AKEBONOs. You can purchase AKEBONOs for relatively cheap. Well, not cheap, but you can find some for a good price. For example, on the Q50, I purchased those for 600 bucks. And these I actually spent a little bit more at the time because I didn't really know much about them. But I purchased them from Rock Auto. I had a bunch of problems with these running the Rock Auto calipers because they were made out of a different material and not steel. So the brake line would keep bleeding and it wouldn't seal properly. So if you guys do buy AKEBONOs, I would recommend that you do not buy it from them unless it's made out of steel. If it's not made out of steel, it's gonna leak and it's not gonna seal properly. They do need to be repainted because they are really old. This is one of the first mods I actually did to the car when I purchased it, because I just didn't like the way the base brakes looked. They look way too small for the car. For it being a sports car, I think it just needs to have the big calipers just to make it look a lot nicer. So it just looks really sick when you see the red calipers, because if you had the base ones, it just wouldn't look as clean with the car and it wouldn't look as aggressive. So that I spent about, I might be wrong, but I think it was like 900 to 1,000. So really expensive. I spent way too much on that, more than I should have. That should have been an easy $600 install with the rotors and everything. Purchasing it here from a shop called Infinity Motorsports that actually sells the calipers. He sells pretty much the whole kit for 600 bucks. I could have purchased that and installed it easily. But I spent way too much on that. I spent like $1,000 on the calipers and it should have been a lot cheaper. Another mod is this one here, very noticeable. Just because I feel like the chrome handle looks really ugly, doesn't go with the car very well. And adding the carbon fiber door handles just gives it a cleaner look. So as you can see, they're carbon fiber. Very clean looking. I also got those on sale like on Black Friday. And they're about 170, I believe. And I got them for, I think it was like 110. Somewhere around there. So one of my favorite mods as well. Changes the look of the car because the door handle does not look good with the way it comes from factory with like a chrome color. So I think this really changes the look of the car as well. As for the back, as you can tell, one of the biggest mods to the back is going to be this carbon fiber hatch. This hatch is from VIS Racing. Now the price on these is outrageous. It's $2,000 for this hatch alone, and I actually pay pretty much nothing. So how I got this hatch is I actually traded with the previous owner for my hatch. I had a Fly One Motorsports duck bill on my previous hatch, so technically you could say that I spent about $400 because the Fly One Motorsports duck bill, I paid about $300 and then I paid about $100 to get it painted. So I technically traded him Fly One Motorsports duck bill for this carbon fiber hatch. And considering this is $2,000 was a huge come up because this thing is expensive. It is expensive, but it looks extremely good. It has the duck bill on it already. It's not as big as my previous duck bill, but it does look very nice and clean. So it does also have a third brake light right there. So this is like one of my favorite mods just because it saves the car a lot of weight, and on top of that it just looks really good. It flows well with the black carbon fiber trunk. It just looks really sick. As for the rear bumper is a Nismo V1 bumper. So this bumper is extremely expensive. It is about $1,000 brand new, and believe it or not, I actually got it for 40 bucks. So 40 bucks for this bumper, and then I spent about 200 to 250 to get it repaired and painted and everything. Is relatively cheap and a lot less expensive than paying $1,000 for it. So huge come up on this. My friend actually had this. He was looking to get rid of it. I picked it up and then I had it repaired and everything. So I'm actually selling the bumper. So if you guys are interested, hit me up. I'd be more than happy to sell it to you guys. I was thinking about selling it for like about $450 to $400, just because that's pretty much how much I actually spent to get it fixed and everything. So 400 bucks. Hit me up if you're interested. Looking to get a Nismo V2 bumper, just because I think it looks a lot better. But maybe some of you guys are looking for the V1 bumper and are interested and don't want to pay $1,000. Hit me up. I'll sell it to you guys. I also did some custom work to it on the bottom side. So if you can see on the bumper, it's cut right there where the diffuser part's at. And the reason I did that is because it actually had a hole in the bottom, because the previous owner had a fog light like this bottom one here attached to the bumper. So I wanted to remove that and make it look a lot cleaner, and also to show off my exhaust. That's a little dirty right now. I didn't get a chance to clean it, but you guys can kind of see how it looks. It reveals the exhaust a lot better, a lot more. Now, one of the biggest questions I really get is, where did I get my diffuser from? So the diffuser, I actually purchased it here locally in AZ on OfferUp. This guy was selling it. The diffuser is actually pretty expensive. The diffuser is about 500 bucks, I believe, and you have to message a guy on Facebook. He doesn't have like a website or anything. I'm not sure if he's going to, but I'll leave his Facebook at somewhere in the description, or I'll leave a picture here. That way you guys can message him directly about it. But I consistently get a lot of questions about the diffuser. Where did I get it from? How did I install it? So this diffuser, I paid 100 and I think it was 70 bucks for it. So I saved a lot of money on the diffuser, and I made my own brackets and everything. So considering the brackets, I probably spent a little bit more. And yeah, I think it just looks really sick. It makes the car look a lot more aggressive, and it actually makes it look like it's a little bit closer to the floor. If I camber in my wheels a little bit, I can most likely make this car actually go on the floor and the diffuser will touch the floor. But because I'm fender to lip, I can't do that. Now the fog light right here, I purchased it from IJDM Toy. I believe it was on Amazon. I don't remember the exact price, but I did purchase it brand new from Amazon. So I believe it was like 70 bucks. I'll double check. I'll leave a link in the description. That way you guys can check it out. I've had it for some time already. I have had no issues at all. It works great. It actually runs with my running lights, my on lights. So when I'm driving at night, it actually has a little light that turns on. When the lights are on, the light at the bottom also stays on. And when you press the brakes, the brighter light turns on as well. And the reverse light in the middle does work as well. So it is functioning properly. I've had it for some time. It's working great. And one of my favorite models as well, because before I didn't have a light. So adding the light just makes it look a lot cleaner and actually makes it look like it should be there. As for my exhaust, I have a full HKS catback exhaust. So as you guys can see, I have a full HKS catback exhaust. It's actually an authentic exhaust. I purchased it from Concept Z Performance directly. I picked it up. I believe this was like the second or third mod I actually did to the car. Very, very quiet exhaust. If you guys want your car to be loud, this is not the exhaust for you, because this is extremely quiet. The exhaust is actually a little bit louder now because I do have AAM high flow cats. So the exhaust itself, just the HKS catback, is about $1,200, which is how much I paid. And then the AAM high flow cats, they are 500 bucks. But I actually picked them up for 200 bucks because I purchased them on OfferUp as well. Some guy was selling them from his Nismo, so I picked them up and then I installed them onto my car, and it made the car a little bit louder than what it is with the HKS. The HKS exhaust by itself is not loud at all. It pretty much sounds stock, just has a little bit of a deeper tone, but it does not change the exhaust really at all until you have some type of test pipes or high flow cats. So if you're looking into this exhaust, I would recommend that if you want something louder, go with a different brand. But I actually like this because it's relatively quiet. It's not very loud unless I actually step on it. But one of my favorite exhausts, honestly. If I didn't have this exhaust, I'd probably go with Motordyne. But I'll show you guys a sound clip of how that car actually sounds. I don't know if you guys consider the license plate a mod, but I have my custom license plate. Only a few of you guys will get this. There's a few meanings behind it. Maybe some of you will understand it, some of you won't, but the way I say it's saucy. So I spent an AZ, it's about 50 bucks for 1 year for the plate, but then you also have to consider the backing or the background, another 50 bucks. And if you do it for 2 years, that's technically like $200. So it's quite expensive. I think it was like $400 for everything, because you also have to do the tags and everything. Pretty expensive, but it makes the car look a lot better instead of having like a plain license plate in the back. For exterior mods, I believe that is pretty much it. There's nothing else I can really see on the top of my head, or I can actually see on the car that I haven't talked about. But that's pretty much it. I'll talk about the inside the hood. It's still in Gen 2 intakes. So those, I actually didn't pay anything for them. They came on the car, and they're actually pretty expensive. They're like 500 bucks for those intakes. So that came with the car when I bought it. That's the only mod that actually came on the car when I bought it. Everything else, it was pretty much stock. Nothing else was done. It was just the Gen 2 intakes. So let's go ahead and go into the interior. We're going to talk about the interior. Not too much is done to it, but it just looks a lot cleaner than what it looked like before. Alright, now let's talk about the interior. The interior, I have BRAUM racing seats. So you can see they look really sick. Really nice seats, really comfortable. They're not made of leather, they're actually made of like a cloth material, so really soft. I actually love these seats. One of the best mods I did to the interior, because if you guys are kind of familiar with the 370Z and what kind of seats they have, I had the tan seats, which are like this here, this really ugly color. So they were really ugly. I hated the seats, the color, how it looked. Not my favorite color for the 370Z, so really changing it to black made it look a lot better. For these seats, I believe I paid $500, so really cheap. I bought them used from a guy who was selling them, so 500 bucks for these seats is really cheap, because you're looking to spend 800 bucks, not including the racing brackets, the mounting plate for the seats themselves. I believe those were 300. Now for the interior, I do have a GTR shift knob. I never actually made a video on how to install this, just because when I started YouTube, I actually had already done this before I started YouTube. So this is actually one of my favorite mods for this car, just because the stock shift knob looks really ugly. It doesn't look cool at all, like it just doesn't flow with the car. This GTR shift knob just looks so much better compared to the other one. I think it's one of the best mods that you can actually do to this car when it comes to the interior, because the stock one is just not the best looking at all, and this just makes the car look a lot better. It also feels a lot better having to be able to push this down instead. I got really used to it, as before I would have to push the button over here on the side or in the front. So pushing this one just looks a lot better. So this I paid, I think it was 150. I might be wrong, but I know I spent a lot less than what this is worth today. The GTR shift knobs right now, if you look them up, they're about 300 bucks right now. So they went over $100 since I purchased it, so it actually went up a lot. Another thing that I did is I installed the GTR start button. Really easy to install. Just use a flathead, push it out, and then take off the clip and install the new one. That's how I install that. Also really cheap. I believe this was 40 bucks. I think they still are the same price. So that one's a really cheap mod. It looks a lot better because the previous one is like a clear ugly color, so it's really ugly. Not the best looking, to be honest. So this just looks a lot cooler, and then it goes well with the GTR shift knob. But other than that, for the interior, it's pretty much stock. The only other thing that I have is going to be these tripods right here. These are also worth over 100 bucks. I picked these up for 60 bucks. So another great come up. Over 100 bucks, picked them up for 60. So got really lucky on that. But yeah, for the interior, that's pretty much it. I do want to change the color of these things right here. This tan color, I would like to make it like red or something, just to make it stand out. I haven't done it yet. I've seen videos on it, looks pretty easy. So I might be doing that in the future. Now the car is bagged. I am on Airlift suspension. So the entire kit is airlift. The front bags, rear bags, also the trunk and manifold and everything is airlift suspension. That is the most expensive thing that I actually have done to this car, is going to be the airlift suspension. I spent about $3,500, and that was when it was on sale. It might be a little bit more. I think it might be like $4,000 for the entire kit, but I spent $3,500 on the airlift suspension, and I also did some custom work to the trunk, which is going to be a little bit more. So if you go to the trunk, here's how my trunk setup looks. I actually did this whole thing. I installed the whole setup. I actually have a video on it if you guys want to check it out as well. Let me turn off the car really quick because it's kind of loud. As you can tell, it looks really nice. I actually did everything myself. I painted the tank. Painting the tank was about 20 bucks. I used like a candy apple red color. So if you guys can see, it's really shiny and red. And then I also added a clear coat so it looks even better. But the airlift kit came with everything pretty much, except for the paint on the tank, and then this stand right here and the wood. I pretty much made everything else. The stand was like 20 bucks, I believe, on eBay. And then you have the hardwood that you can buy at Home Depot, and that was also about like 40 bucks. And then the paint was like about 20. And then the actual kit itself for airlift is about 3,500. It might be a little bit more because I believe I got mine on sale for 10% off. So it looks really sick, very clean. So those are pretty much all the mods that are done to the car. As you can see, it's very far away from stock, so it looks really clean. It's a lot of work done to it. There's a lot of money that's been put into it. Overall, I don't really regret putting all this money into the car, just because it's a hobby that I have. It's something that really makes me happy, working on the car. I actually don't do it for anybody else. I do it for myself. Love working on cars. Another thing is, before I even started YouTube, I actually installed every single thing that you see on the car. The only thing that I didn't actually do is the tune. So every single thing that you actually see on the car has been installed by me, except for the paint and like the tune. The painting I never actually went into detail with, never actually tried it myself, because there's a lot of things that go into it. Considering that I've installed everything, that means that I've actually saved a lot of money when it comes to parts being installed. So instead of me taking it somewhere, like my high flow cats, my airlift suspension, my hood, my fenders, the rear hatch, the side skirts, the wheels, everything, even the AKEBONO brakes, I've installed myself. So pretty much considering all the installation that I've done to the car, I've saved tons of money, because a lot of people that do airlift suspension and install it, it's not very cheap. You're looking to spend over 600 bucks to maybe even close to 1,000 if you want to get your airlift suspension installed. So I've saved a lot of money. I'm gonna link down or add here the pricing on how much I've actually spent, how much it would have been if it would have been brand new, and how much it would have been if I would have had it installed by somebody else. That way you guys can pretty much get a picture of how much it would cost to build it if you were to do it on your own, if you were to do it new, if you were to do it with somebody installing it for you. So I want to thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'll try to link everything as much as possible that I can find on the car that I purchased. That way you guys can go ahead and purchase it yourself. But again, I'm here, more than happy to help. I really appreciate everybody that's following the channel. I do have a lot more things planned for the car. As of right now, it's naturally aspirated. I would love to do a turbo kit on it. I'm not sure if I would like to do supercharger or turbo kit, but it's something along the lines, just because if you guys know, I do have a Q50 as well. The Q50 is actually faster than the Z, which is really surprising because this is actually the sports car, and then you have the sedan, which is like a luxury sedan. Alright guys, so continuing on the video from yesterday, the device started overheating, so a lot of the audio didn't record. Now, forced induction is something I would like to do in the future, maybe not now just because I'm focusing on a few things in life that I want to get to first. Forced induction is pretty expensive. You're talking about maybe $10,000 to do that. And then I would also like to do a manual swap. Now, there's a few things that may go on. I will either be selling the Z to get another 370Z in a manual and just swapping all the parts over, or I may be actually swapping out the current automatic transmission over to a manual. Of course, that is a lot more money. It's better off just selling the Z and getting a 370Z that's already manual, and then even upgrading to possibly a Nismo. So that's something I could be looking into the future. Not sure yet. So if you're really interested and want to stay tuned to the channel, please subscribe. That way you can stay updated to everything that's going on with the car. At the car's current state, it's currently just a show car, not fast at all. It is tuned, but I still don't think it's very fast because the Q50 is quicker and it just has a JB4 with bolt-ons, and the 370Z is relatively slow compared to that. But 370Z is just a show car. This is an estimate of how much you will most likely be spending. So I spent about $12,000 just to make the car where it's at today, and this is just pretty much a modification list for visual aspects. Like, this does nothing to make the car any faster. The tune does help out a lot. The tune cost me $350, and I traded some parts as well. Tune might be a lot more now depending on where you go. Tunes usually cost you $700 to $1,000, again, and depending on where you go. And the tune does actually help out a lot. Depending on what you do, if you buy parts used, it's really a waiting game. You gotta keep posted on every single thing. Offer up, Craigslist, checking every single time to see what's posted. That way you can pretty much cop it as soon as it comes out. Because if you wait, a lot of people are jumping on things ASAP. I'm that type of guy that's like on there every single day, checking to see what I'm looking for at the moment, jumping on it really quick, and saving a lot of money in the end. Because instead of paying new, where you're gonna pay maybe more than $200, you're saving a lot of money when you're doing that, which is what I did with my car. $20,000 is how much the parts on my car are worth right now, new. And then me paying for all of them used, I saved about $8,000, not including labor, which is an additional $5,000. So technically I have saved about $13,000 in total when building this car. So it just depends on you, on how dedicated you are to looking for parts and what you want for your car, and just really getting out there and looking for what you really want. So I hope you guys found this useful. I know I get a lot of questions, so this is going to answer a lot of those questions that I get on the daily. What parts I have, how much I bought them for, things like that. So I hope this helps out a lot. If you guys have any questions, always feel free to message me. I'm always happy to help. I love seeing the community grow, and if you guys want to share with me what you've done, if you have any questions, I'm always happy to help as well. I love seeing people that watch my videos and they message me like, hey, I just saw your video, but I was wondering how you do this, or hey, I just did this, here's how it looks and how it came out. And I find it really amusing, and I really appreciate you guys watching the channel. So if you guys haven't already, please like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, share the video. I appreciate every single one of you guys. I did just recently hit 500 subscribers, and if you follow me on Instagram, you guys most likely saw the giveaway. Once I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'll be doing another giveaway coming up for the channel. I do want to get coilovers for the Q. That'll be coming very soon. So if you are interested in the Q50 as well, I'm doing things here and there to each car, just depending on what I find, if I find good deals. The Q50 is pretty much done for performance wise. I've done the full exhaust, intakes and everything. The last thing I really want to do is maybe get new wheels and then get some coilovers. That way it can look a lot more aesthetically pleasing. So if you guys are interested, keep subscribe to the channel and stay tuned. But thank you guys again. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.